By the way, I have to say this, that it is pronounced Ikigai. It has to make you smile. Otherwise, you're not saying it right. Present. I think that's a prerequisite for Ikigai, being able to be mindful. It's okay to be down. So I think the first thing we need to do is to reassure ourselves, saying that it's all right to be emotionally down.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Out of the Box. I'm Raji, co-founder and imaginator at Beyond Date. For those who are joining us for the first time, this is our 7th one. And our earlier expert talks were about education, sustainability, public problem solving, fitness and health, online learning, just a variety of topics, and even one surprise edition of microcredits for farmers. And all of this out-of-the-box session, they're basically an extension of our Discover series of expert talks. And the out-of-the-box session has been designed to provide a range of exposure by hearing from experts from different industries. Today, we have a very, very special guest with us, Akanksha Thakore, a very dear friend of mine. And Akanksha, she's the founder of Ripple Effect, through which she works with organizations to help them move from ideas to impact. And her decade-long facilitation journey spans themes as varied as resilience, leadership, design thinking, creativity, behavioral psychology, what have you. She also holds an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. She works very closely with us in HLC and Beyond It. As we speak, we are developing the Culture Deck, a guiding document capturing the core values and beliefs and culture for the two organizations. There is Vimal Abraham, my co-imaginator, dear friend, who will actually be interviewing Akanksha today. And I'm hoping that it will be a very enriching conversation. By the way, Vimal has an interesting journey of his own in pursuing his Ikigai. A little birdie tells me that Vimal has some interesting questions for Akanksha that will have her wear her out-of-the-box thinking hat. So over to you, Vimal.
Thank you so much, Raji. It's lovely to be on another edition of Out of the Box with Beyond It today. All our life, we've been told good education, go to school, go to college, get good education, get a good degree, get a good job, then you will have a good life. But in our lives, we've realized that there's more to life than just education or your careers. Each of us have so many gifts that's begging us to be put to use. Understanding our gifts and putting them to use so that you can enjoy the benefits of it is what we call Ikigai. Ikigai is a concept that came from a small Japanese city, or I think it's a state called Okinawa. And it came to popularity when a book called The Blue Zones of Happiness was published sometime in 2014. People started recognizing this concept and adopting it. In short, Ikigai is the reason you get out of your bed. All these 7 weeks, we've been talking about the reasons which keeps us awake in the night, the problems that surrounds us, and how do we solve those problems. But today, in our session, we're going to talk about what is that reason that gets you out of the bed in the morning. What is that map that you see in the morning? Your Ikigai, in some sense, is the purpose of your life, and sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's not, and it's not rocket science. And with this pandemic that's surrounding us, there's suddenly a lack of time for a lot of things. All our time goes off in the basic household work or getting our work done. Are we in some sense ignoring our Ikigai? Are we in some sense ignoring the big purpose that brings joys into our life? And this affects our young learners more than anybody else. A lack of Ikigai or a lack of a purpose could mean a lack of drive or lack of enthusiasm towards reaching their goals in life. Talking about that today, we have somebody special, like Raji introduced. We have with us Akanksha. Akanksha is the founder of Ripple Effect. With Akanksha's academic acumen and what she brings to the table, in a normal situation, you'll probably find her sitting in a Fortune 500 company, leading a management team or a strategy team. But she chose to follow our Ikigai. She chose to follow her Ikigai. She quit a corporate career or whatever positive things that she had from a career friend to start Ripple Effect. And today, she powers ideas. She powers entrepreneurs. She powers startups to come up with brilliant ideas that's changing the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, Akanksha.
Thank you so much, Vimal. You promised not to embarrass me, but you have. Very happy to be here. It's an honor. Thank you.
Lovely. Ikigai means a lot of things for different people, Akanksha, and also a very ancient concept like this. We can interpret it in our own ways. How do you interpret
True.
Ikigai? What do you think it means to you?
So I liked what you said at the start. What is it that gets you out of bed every day, right? I would think that so far we've held this notion that purpose, I mean, pop literature and culture also has this belief that there is this one big purpose waiting for us at the end of our life journey, or when we found it, we've arrived, and so on. I think Ikigai is refreshing in the sense what it says is that there is no big purpose that you're waiting to arrive at. Purpose is what you do every day, the small things that give you joy. So, what is it that really makes life worthwhile for you? And we'll come to more of these small things, but it could be anything. So, for me, this word, by the way, I have to say this that it is pronounced Ikigai. It has to make you smile, otherwise, you're not saying it right. That's something Tim Tamashiro has taught me. But so for me, this has been a process, a journey of uncovering and discovering, almost like the peels of an onion. So you keep discovering more and more about yourself. And at any point in time, you have a sense of what it is that you really love to do. What is it that you're good at doing? What is it that the world needs? And finally, what it is that you can get rewarded for, paid for, so it becomes your profession as well. The 4 Venn diagram, if you just Google it, I think that framework has really helped me think about this. It's very difficult to arrive at that one thing in the center, but I think the starting point is to start asking ourselves, what is it that I love and what is it that I'm good at? So for me, it boils down to these two questions to start with.
Lovely. Okay, so here's a quick takeaway for people who are watching the session. So if you want to pronounce Ikigai, so first thing you do is raise your cheekbones and say Ikigai. So I guess, like you said, in Japanese, the character I is pronounced as E, and therefore it's Ikigai. Lovely. All right. A quick reminder to all our audience who are live with us right now. Please do start a share party or a watch party. We like more people to hear the stories from our experts. We like more young learners to listen to these experts so that they get a better understanding of what's available to them and what are the opportunities available for them as they grow up. And a quick reminder, you can also post your questions in the chat screen. We are watching the chat screen, and we'd love to ask these questions on your behalf to Akanksha. So Akanksha, you spoke to us, gave us an introduction about Ikigai and the Venn diagram, which came into picture. And we spoke about Tim's book, which talks about how do you do your Ikigai. How is the COVID impact or the Corona lockdowns around us impacted your own Ikigai?
So I recognize that these times have been very trying for everyone in different ways, and tragic for a majority. I'm aware of that. And for each one of us, I think the effect has been very different. I'm a privileged person that way, that I have the comfort of a home and food and all of that. But the lockdown has still been a very dramatically different time in terms of the work that it has brought upon each one of us. We're having to do things that we're not necessarily used to in terms of uncertainty of what's going to happen going forward. Personally, there are 3 things before I get into how it has impacted my sense of purpose or Ikigai. There are 3 things that I have felt strongly run through all that I love doing and that I'm good at. So just want to share where I am on my Ikigai journey. One is to connect meaningfully with people. I enjoy deep conversations. I love connections with people. The second is being able to facilitate reflection and growth in others and in myself. So that collective reflection. And the third is sharing creative expression. So I'm interested in a range of creative arts, starting from poetry and dance and so on. I love sharing that creative expression with others. So for me, facilitation is one profession that has brought together all of these in different respects. And so I currently consider that to be my Ikigai. That has been impacted in one big way, in that I miss being in the same room with a group of people and going through exercises and drama games and activities and collectively reflecting on things that really matter to us and moving forward together. That energy, that sense of collective energy is missing, which you get when you're physically present somewhere. At the same time, I feel the world it almost feels like the world is more connected today than ever, because those with the privilege of internet connection have gone online. All of us are here, and I'm finding that Even spaces I could not earlier access because I'm not present in that city, I'm able to access now and get together with a group of people to learn new things. So while that physical facilitation is not happening, I'm taking this time to deepen my skills, getting together with other facilitators, brainstorming ideas on how do we manage this transition. So it has helped me get in touch with newer communities, attend newer sessions, learning sessions, and so on. It is challenging, admittedly, to do the third thing, which is sharing creative expression. I think the first few weeks have been overwhelming with just the number of things one is trying to balance, but I'm trying to create time and space for that. Yes. But one thing that the lockdown has done, I think, for a lot of us, is it has helped us focus on things that really matter. Simply because one does not have the time and energy for everything anymore. We do not have the luxury to wander about. It just you have a chance to strip away what is non-essential and focus on what is important to you. So I have been through that journey over the last 2 months myself, and I'm going deeper into things that really matter to me. So something like the psychology of well-being or Ikigai, or so that's how I think it has resulted in the shift.
Absolutely. I've had the privilege to be in some of the sessions you run for school children, the high school children. And I remember a session where facilitation became a tool for world peace. Those are elements which came from the students, right?
Yes.
Akanksha was probing the children to speak more about facilitation. They hadn't heard of this word facilitation ever before. It was the first time they heard, but it was really energizing to see how children interpreted there. And they said that we can actually bring about world peace if we had the skill of facilitation. So a big thank you to what you're doing. That was quite an aha moment. It is. Yeah.
Pleasure.
It was rather, right? So I must thank you for what you're doing, because it does bring up a lot of change. Just a quick look at the audience. We have a fantastic audience today. A special thanks to some of our special guests today. Thank you so much, Avnita ma'am, for joining us along with your team. It's a pleasure to have you. And another reminder to the audience, please don't forget to post your questions. We would be more than glad to get Akanksha to answer those questions for you. Okay, moving to the next question, Akanksha. Why do you think it is important for us to keep in touch with the deep purpose that we have in our lives, especially during a time like this where we are, in some sense, stuck inside our four walls, not being able to go meet people outside?
So as it is, I think there is a very strong case for Ikigai. Increasingly, evidence is pointing to the connection between Ikigai as a school of thought and well-being. And I'm doing a lot of research into this science, the science of well-being, doing an online course on it, in fact, through Coursera. And what it tells us is that all the notions that we have of what really makes us happy, what we think makes us happy, are often misguided. We are not very good at predicting what makes us happy. And there is extensive research happening on the kinds of things that give us lasting joy and well-being and that energize us. So as it is, I would say, regardless of what is currently happening, there is a strong case to be made for pursuing, discovering, following your Ikigai. Having said that, right now in particular, like I was saying, it's a difficult time. It's a trying and challenging time. It's pushing us out of our comfort zone. I think well-being has come into sharp focus again. Resilience has come into focus. It's very easy to feel the pressure of two things. One is just the enormous crisis the world is going through, right? Every time you read a painful news article about somebody suffering, at least for someone like me, it really affects me. It moves me. And I'm sitting here wondering, what more can I do? What else can I do to help? That's one. So it's the larger world, but it's also the sense of uncertainty we have about our own lives. Right. So my partner in life and at Ripple Effect, Sri Krishnan and I, we keep discussing what is going to be the future of our work. What is it that we can help individuals and organizations do more and better? And we keep coming back to the idea of mental health. So I've been doing a lot of work on positive mental health as well. And Ikigai, the sense of joy or energy or purpose that it brings to our lives, is what can actually give us the inner strength and resilience to cope with the massive changes that are happening around and inside us. So I think it is an especially important time to reconnect to the basics, to the core of what really drives me. And secondly, it is also a time which is giving us this opportunity. It's giving us the opportunity to go inward, to ask some tough questions and listen to some honest answers, to redesign. I think nobody expects anything or anyone to be the same anymore. So the time is ripe for us to take a hard look at our lives and say, what is it that really matters to me, or what drives me, or what energizes me.
Yeah. That's a brilliant perspective, Akanksha, because it gives me two takeaways from that, right? Like they say in Ikigai, there are two parts. One is the half and the full, as they say it. The half is what do you love and what are you good at, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes our Ikigais or Ikigais is sort of limited to us. What are we good at, and what is that we love, right? And I think this is a brilliant time for us to look at how is that we can solve a problem in the world, right? And today, the world problems are not something which is happening in a third world country, or world problems are not something politicians are solving. Crisis like this gives opportunities for individuals like us to use our own Ikigai to go and solve a problem. And the second takeaway that I get from you is, something similar to what I read in a book called Man's Search for Meaning, right? Viktor Frankl. He says, like success is like happiness. You can never, pursue it. It can only be an unintended outcome of you trying to solve somebody's problem, right? And when you use your Ikigai, when you use your inner strength, when you use your special gift to solve somebody's problem, the happiness is unbound, and that's when your rewards come in, right? Which is the fourth quadrant of the Venn diagram, which talks about how will you get rewarded, and reward not necessarily has to be monetary.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
You are a classic case, right? I mean, if you were to just follow your academic acumen into a corporate world, the rewards will be very different. But what you're doing today, the rewards are not monetary.
It's interesting, Vimal, that you bring this up a second time. I've had this conversation with many people, and then they say, why did you go and do an MBA? And I want to remind them that the accurate description is postgraduate diploma in management, not in business management. So I might not be in business. I'm still managing things, but I'm just managing different kinds of things. And I think management of self is an underrated and highly important space. And that's where I'm working. So,
a lot of good observations coming in the chat as we speak, right? A lot of people are agreeing to the facts like lasting joy is what we need to do, and helping others is what is more important, right? A lot, and some of them are commenting that it's missing in a lot of people, right? In terms of sharing what they have with others is missing, right? It's in fact a little difficult times, right? There is a question that's come from Suman Samarth. Right. Suman Samarth says, Akanksha, can you share something on living in the moment, please?
Sure. So Suman ma'am, just like Avneeta ma'am, is not just an ex-colleague, but also a dear friend. And thanks for asking this question, Suman ma'am. So I was going to come to this in the how section. How do we do this right now? And one of the most powerful tools that helps us get closer to Ikigai is mindfulness. And this is for learners in particular as well, who are, and I think it's true for adults as well, because we have so many incoming influences and so much traffic to navigate in the online space, that mindfulness becomes very, very critical. Now, what is mindfulness? Very quickly, it's to be fully aware, fully being present in my current experience, and also being able to watch the thoughts and impulses that are coming and going into my mind. How do I do this? And I'll connect it to Ikigai in a moment. But first, how do I become mindful? I've realized that when I actually do household chores, it's an excellent opportunity for mindfulness because it uses my body, right? I'm sweeping or I'm mopping and I'm doing the vessels. It actually, instead of distracting myself with something else at that time, I could actually use the opportunity to be fully present in that experience with all my senses and be fully there. Mindfulness gives a lot of delight. It gives a lot of joy. But more importantly, the more I practice it, the more I'm building my muscle of mindfulness. The lockdown is a great opportunity to build this muscle. The more I build the muscle, the more I'm going to become aware anytime a thought enters my mind. If I like something, if I enjoy something, I will be able to catch myself enjoying that. And as a next step, I think I also need to make note of that. I also need to note down what are the things that are catching my attention, and I need to follow that spark. So that's the second thing. After I'm mindful of what it is that's going on inside me, which are the moments of energy in my day, what has really brought me energy, what has brought my energy down, I will be able to act upon it if I actually am recording that, not just letting it float in my head, right? So journaling it or keeping note, because there are cues everywhere of what it is that really gives you this sense of purpose. And I wouldn't, what you mentioned, Vimal, about the half Ikigai, I think that's a great place to start, even before reaching the point where all four can come together, which is challenging. When I start with the first two, what do I love doing and what am I good at? I will soon discover ways to do the other two also. It gives me the energy and the strength, and the exploration opens up this world in front of me. So once I jot down what it is that I'm observing about myself, I think I can pursue that. So first is build the muscle of mindfulness in this way every day. The more we do it, the better we get at it. And it makes life enjoyable, truly. Even the chores, even the rigmarole of daily routine. You know how many people are complaining we're going through the same day again and again. But trust me, with mindfulness, no 2 days are the same ever again. The same dishwashing is going to be different another day. And the third one I would say is once you have jotted it down, give it time and energy, give it some attention, even if it's half an hour in the day, even if it's a little small window we create in the day. If other demands are taking up our time, your online classes, this is for learners, online classes, assignments, demands from adults are getting in the way. If you feel, find that half an hour in the day. So like I was telling you, one of my challenges is on creative expression. I love poetry. So at the end of the day, if I've not given time to that, I find time to read just one poem, even if it's just one poem by one of my favorite poets. Read that and go to sleep. So thanks for asking that question about being in the present. I think that's a prerequisite for Ikigai, being able to be mindful.
Two takeaways again. One, be mindful of what you're doing and set a time for it. If you don't set a time for it, it's not going to happen. And adding to the previous takeaway that it's got to be about solving somebody's problem. It's just not about yourself. Solve somebody's problem, be mindful of it, and practice it consciously on a daily basis. All right, lovely. A lot of questions flowing in. Another question. The question says, as teenagers who derive a lot of their identity through external validation, how do you suggest that they go about placing themselves in the Ikigai chart?
How do they go about placing themselves in that?
Themselves in the Ikigai chart.
So, okay. So I think adolescence in particular is a great time to start practicing this, because the need for validation is there. There is no point fighting it. Psychology tells us it's a very natural need, and you outgrow it. It comes down for some of us, it never comes down, and so on. But it's a natural need. And the more you try and solve problems outside, it also brings in that validation, and it brings it in a very positive way. Another need during this time is to get together with friends and do something, right? Social connections are very, very important. Peers are very important. So it's a great time to get together with friends and come bring your heads together and ideas and strengths together to try and do something that will help the situation. I think, like you said, Vimal, right now, the crisis is so huge that it's going to take all of us to put together everything that we have to offer in our own unique, special ways. To really solve the problems that our fellow humans and the world at large is facing.
Lovely.
Right. So the need for validation can be fulfilled in a very positive way. But having said that, it's the joy that Ikigai gives somehow brings down that need for validation from outside. That's been my experience.
Absolutely, and external validation also leads to a lot of pressure, right? It creates a lot of chances for people being depressed. There's a lot of data that's going around today saying that almost 1/4 of Indian high schoolers or teenagers are depressed. And speaking on depression and mental health, there's a question which popped up at the same time. The question from Mihika, which says, she asks, mental health professionals often tell us that it's okay to not be okay in a time like this, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Would you say that the same for Ikigai as well? How do we perceive a time where we don't have a solid Ikigai? Is it necessary to always have it, or can people make peace with a lull? Deep question.
This is a deep question, and we can go on for hours on this. Let me try and make it succinct. Yes, it is okay. To any question that you ask me about the state of how you are right now, I'm going to say yes, it's okay. Because I come from that school of thought as well. It's okay to not have an Ikigai or recognize it. I also think it's important to hold the word lightly, not make it heavy, not make it as, like I said, as a destination. Either I have an Ikigai or I don't. Just stick to the simple questions. What do I love? And if you go back to your childhood, you will get cues of what is it that you really love doing. When no one's telling you what to do or what you ought to do and what you need to do, don't get in the way of what you want to do. What is it that you really want to do? And that's a great starting point. Many of us are not even clear about that anymore. That what do I unto myself love doing? So start there, start small. It's okay if there's a lull. There's going to be a lull time and again, and you might wonder, what is it that I really want? I think that pursuit is important. The process is important, and it need not be a heavy process. It can actually be a joyful process if you allow yourself to just be. If you don't put these shoulds, then it's a joyful process. That I should have an answer, or I should get somewhere, or I should be doing every day. I was facing that in the beginning. I should offer something online. For the first few weeks, I agonized over that, and I said, it's okay. I'm learning. I'm in introspection mode. It's fine. I will offer when I'm ready to offer. So all these shoulds don't help in the pursuit of Ikigai. So yes, it's okay, Minka. To answer your question.
Don't focus on the outcomes. Focus on the process is what you're saying. And the minute we focus on the outcome, it beats the whole process of an Ikigai per se.
Yeah, and it's a lifelong process, right? I'm saying this to you right now that today these three things, if you ask me a year now or 5 years now, that might have shifted because we keep evolving as people. Everything that we experience becomes a part of who we are. So the answer might keep changing, and it will, I think, keep changing for many of us, and that's fine.
Right.
I think that's how we do it.
And what I take away from that, correct me if I'm wrong, Akanksha, you're saying your Ikigai doesn't have to be something so gigantic or something like world peace or something.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It can be small things. Have I made someone smile today? I might find great joy in just that. And if I do that small thing, my day is made. For instance, that's a starting point. And then you encounter the larger questions of, how do I make this work as a profession? All of that. But this is the starting point. What is that small thing or small things? And I love this quote: a little bit of joy every day adds up to a lifetime of joy. Can I create those small moments of joy today and tomorrow and the day after? And I've created a lifetime which is full of these joyful moments. So what are those small things?
Absolutely. Another observation from Pooja. In some sense, I think you answered this question, but it's worth mentioning. She says she read somewhere that you can either have the mind or the moment. How does one deal with? Right? And I think you answered this question that it's not the question of mind or the moment. All right? It's about balancing mind or the moment.
Mind or the moment. Yes, I think it's about balancing. Sometimes we need to process and think about something and ideate something, and we will say that, okay, I'm going to think about this while I do XYZ, which is fine as long as it's a conscious choice. Most of the time it is not conscious. We just get carried away by a stream of thought. The point is, how can we start becoming more mindful and conscious and deliberate? And if we do it 2-3 times a day also, that's a great starting point. To reach a whole day of mindfulness is, I think, we're sorted then for life. So it's a journey.
Another observation, somebody who says you're not able to hear it clearly. Sorry, the technical difficulties which is not letting you hear louder. We'll ensure we upload a better version of this on YouTube so that you can go back to it and listen to it. Okay, sure. Super. So because conscious of time, we just got a few more minutes left. A few more questions as we sum up the session. All right. So Nikita asks if there is a way to reassure others dependent on us, like the family, students, children, on days when we feel emotionally down.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
How do we reassure them? So I think it is, and incidentally, this is something that Suman ma'am told me. It's very important to let your children see the human side of you. If you're suffering, if you're anguished, if you're down and out, it's okay for them to see it and not see you as this perfect human being who is happy all the time. A, because it makes them more empathetic, and B, because it helps them form this holistic idea that being human is not just about being upbeat all the time. And it's okay. It's okay to be down. So I think the first thing we need to do is to reassure ourselves, saying that it's all right to be emotionally down. And I think when you start having this conversation, it also makes you feel less alone. And you realize that actually the people around you, we sometimes underestimate their capacity to understand us and empathize and comfort us. So this conversation and sharing that I have this need, I want you to feel reassured that today I'm not okay, but I'm going to look after you. And together we're going to be fine. And if you need anything, I'm here. I think that simple act of just conversing, saying what's really happening, what's really going on is very powerful. It's a great time to rediscover that art within our families because we're in the same four walls, right?
Just going to wrap it up with three questions at best. We are almost at time. Sure. Pavitra says, how can we move beyond a productivity mindset at a time like this and explore our purpose? Brilliant question.
Yes. Okay, thanks for asking that, Pavitra. So Pavitra is also a friend and my sister-in-law. I could say sister-in-law. Good question. I think it's a balance we need to draw on a day-to-day basis. So as a professional, I need to be productive. Yes. If I'm mindful, I can mark out those hours where I'm going to be productive. And I think it calls for that kind of deep work. And you will realize you're able to achieve much more if you set aside those fixed number of hours instead of staggering work through the whole day and also trying to do something else at the same time. And that becomes my work time, my productive time, right? And every day, like I said a little earlier, if I'm able to find half an hour. So personally, what I found is early morning before anyone else wakes up works best for me as this mindful time to think about it. I'm again going to reiterate this. Journaling is a brilliant practice. It really helps. Every day, if I'm able to write something about what in the day has given me joy, where does my spark come from, what more can I do today, a little bit, which becomes a part of my work or which becomes a part of my day that can take me closer to my Ikigai. I think that practice, daily habit, really helps. The other thing, this idea that I really like from this book that you also mentioned, right? This book, How to Ikigai by Tim Tamashiro. He says that you can also bring it into your work, into how you have organized your work. So while you're being productive, can you also bring in things that really give you joy and make that a part of your role somehow? And small things. So I'm just throwing many ideas. Maybe many of these will work, but I think we need both.
Yeah. Okay, super.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap it up with one last question. This is from Swami.
Sure.
Swami says, or rather asks, wouldn't accepting the new normal enhance our perspective to change the changeable? Wouldn't accepting
Yes.
the new normal?
I think acceptance is powerful. I agree that once you start accepting the way things are, it really helps you focus on what is within your control, within your locus of control, and what can you really do, and what is it that is not. Having said that, the new normal, I would just give a caveat. It's still being defined. So I think we can participate in defining the new normal instead of passively accepting that there is a certain new normal. There are some things which are given to us, but there is a lot that we can contribute actively in shaping as well, right? So I think, yeah, I think you're right. Accepting does allow us to change what can be changed. And those people who have been able to accept the lockdown have really managed it much better, have adapted much better to it, rather than those who have fought it and said, no, how can this be? How can I be trapped? And so on. So acceptance is powerful. Vimal, I know this is not, sorry, you were saying something.
I'm saying so to say that Swami is one of our Beyond 8 students. He's in some sense, I would say, a pioneer in his space.
Yes.
These are young children who've taken the brave decision to break the typical walls.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
he's not another wall, another brick in the wall. He's the Beyond 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I've been saying last question. The question is flooding. I think I must take this question because he's again another alumni of Beyond 8.
Sure.
A very, very smart student. Sanjay Sudarshan. Sanjay asks, would you suggest that students, it would be better if students do their exams and exams are scheduled around Ikigai? Right? Let me read that again. Let me read it properly. Would students do better if their exams were scheduled around their Ikigai?
I think that to mean that if they were structured or organized around what you're good at and what you love doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if I had a choice of acting out my answers, I think I would have done much better academically. So yes, I think it's which is why I said the new normal is getting shaped, and this is a chance to shape the new normal. Yes, if I hope I'm understanding your question correctly, Sanjay, because if you're asking that if students had this chance, learners had this chance to use their Ikigai in mainstream academics, wouldn't it be better for them? And I think yes, and I think Beyond 8 is trying to do that from what I understand. And Vimal, this has not come up in any question, but I think this is very, very important as a point to make, and I want to leave it as a thought for all the adults in the room especially, but also for the learners, is that as a culture, we are used to correcting our weaknesses, trying to focus on our shortcomings and saying, how can we get better at that? Positive psychology and the psychology of well-being and Ikigai asks us to look at the other end of the spectrum to say, what are our strengths? What are we good at? What is going right? So as adults, as facilitators, if we want to encourage the pursuit of Ikigai in learners, we need to recognize what is going right, what are their strengths, what are they good at, give more opportunities to practice those, point to role models who are being able to do that, so spark that inspiration, and do it for ourselves also. I might beat myself down for 10 things I'm not doing right in the day. I need to shift that to saying, what am I doing right? And I think that is a part of pursuing Ikigai. That helps us tune into what you're really good at and do more of it and get better at it. Yeah. And it brings well-being as well.
Yeah. And I think it's a lovely way to wrap it up, right? Albert Einstein said this, and Naveen keeps repeating this a lot to us. If you measure a fish by its ability to climb a tree, right, we know what happens. I'm going to leave that
Yeah.
empty. I think it's a brilliant session, Akanksha. I personally had a lot to learn from
Thank you,
it.
Vimal.
I'm sure the audience had a lot to learn. For
Thank
those
you.
questions we couldn't answer, my apologies. We ran out of time. Please do keep asking these questions. You
Of
can
course.
reach Akanksha directly through her
Absolutely.
Facebook account,
Yeah.
or our
And I
LinkedIn
do
account
these
as well.
sessions on Ikigai as well, so we can maybe meet for one of those longer sessions
Lovely.
or
Yeah,
an
we
online
could
chat.
do a session on Ikigai.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And another key takeaway is Ikigai is not a destination. It's not an outcome. It is a process. It is a journey. You can only do best when you're keeping things open, fluid, and
Absolutely.
let
And
yourselves explore things.
and
Right?
build the muscle of mindfulness. I'm going to keep saying that.
Build a muscle of mindfulness.
Yeah.
And we're not getting paid by Tim Tamakiro, but please pick up that book. How
Yes.
do Ikigai? Is that what it's called?
This one. Yes.
It's
Yes.
called How to.
Also a TED talk. He's also given a TED talk. It's been very helpful, and he's pointing us to 10 other resources.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
With that, big thank you.
Thank you so much,
Lovely
Vimal.
having
This
you.
has been really interesting. Very
Lovely.
stimulating conversation. Thanks.
Back to our host, Raji.
Wow. Electrifying session. Build our muscle for Ikigai, for mindfulness. Phenomenal, Akanksha and Vimal. I just, you can see me smiling. And like you said, how Ikigai is pronounced as Ikigai. And obviously, Vimal had to add some masala to it. And then he said that you have to keep your chin up also. So chin up and Ikigai is the message you leave us with. And I would just like to add two more thoughts to this. When we talk about mental health and when we talk about well-being, it's not just about the staying in the state of happiness, right? It's about experiencing all of those range of emotions, those navarasas, and experiencing it, feeling it, and then the way you express it, that shows how mentally stable you are. And you spoke about something very important, right, Akanksha? You spoke about positive motivation. Edward L. Becci's theory of positive motivation talks about how if we do the things that we are good at, if we do the things that we are skilled at, we are intrinsically motivated. Our self-worth increases. We feel happy, and obviously everyone else around us feels happy too. So very beautiful interaction from the audience, and I'm just smiling. Your points were very, very relevant. And through this dream mapping exercise that we went through in Beyond 8, we were sort of the dream mapping workshop. We saw how excited children can be when they're enabled to pursue their passions and be useful to the world without giving up on any goal that their family sends to school for, which is earn respectable money through respectable means. For those who are joining us for the first time, Beyond 8 is an alternative to school education. We just remove everything that is ineffective in schooling and include a range of real-world experiences. It's an education that puts the learner in the center and builds the education that they want, allowing them to pursue their various interests by having a range of experiences. Our current students, they are children like your Swami and even Sanjay, they're all wanting to become sportsmen, artists, scientists, musicians, and even lawyers. You heard me right. Some people might think that it's only sportsmen and musicians who can have passions, but we have seen time and again that children have strong inclinations towards the sciences, towards mathematics, and they too find Beyond 8 as their ideal learning destination. Fundamentally, we all love doing what we find interesting, and children are no different. They want to pursue their passion and not do homework and assignments in theoretical concepts that they neither understand nor find relevance, right? Children at Beyond 8, they just love the flexible hours, they love the flexible locations, and they also love the fact that they can learn from home and they are not boxed into these rigid timetables and the same room, the same schedule, and all of those conventions that are found in our schools. Do visit www.beyond8.in to learn how we enable children's passion. Our next session, again, is going to be a super one with Zubair Zinjunia, the energetic, full of ideas, revolutionary founder of Z-Notes. Z-Notes has over 5 million subscribers from around the world, and they work very closely with some of the top universities in UK as well as USA. I invite you to mark your calendars and attend his talk next Friday on Out of the Box, again at 11 a.m. It is relevant to both learners of all ages and facilitators of all disciplines. I look forward to you, to all of you joining us for his Out of the Box session talk. Find your Ikigai, learn with Beyond 8. Thank you once again for being here with us today. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day and a cheerful weekend. Thank you.